Good day, everyone. My name is Ashleigh Ewald, and I am the creator and the host of 100% Real with Ashleigh Ewald talk show. This was created in my senior year of high school of 2021 and now has been a vehicle for young listeners to be able to listen to those who are very successful in their industries, whether that be business, politics, entertainment, sports, you name it. Well, this is May of 2025, and we have a special guest to celebrate AAPI Month. Please welcome Tony Awards actor BD Wong.
Hey everybody. Hey Ashley. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being on.
I'm really happy to be here. We met during the campaign and we bonded and it was so fast and furious and we had so much energy and we were making content and I really part of my goal at that time was to connect with younger people. And so I think everything that you're doing is really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, BD. And I think you being able to come out to Georgia raw in the flesh is incredible. That's awesome.
It was
Yeah.
a great experience.
Yay, I'm so glad. Yay. Well, to kick off this amazing interview, I have the first question. So, growing up, what were the messages you received about being Asian American? And how did those shape your early view of yourself in your career?
Wow, that's a wonderful question, and it's very aspects of the answer are kind of somewhat intense. First of all, I discovered at an early age that I wanted to be an actor, or that I dreamed of it, or that it appealed to me. And so, of course, one of the first things you do is you look to the media that is around you to find what we now call representation, the people that look like you, that can give you some kind of an attachment to that thing and make you see yourself in it. And there was very little of that at the time when I was growing up. I was looking on the television and in the movies, and it's a long discussion about representation, but I think at this point in time, people know that people from marginalized communities are not necessarily represented over the time of history in a way that really does our culture justice and makes our younger people feel seen. And so I was one of those younger people who did not feel seen in that kind of context. In addition to that, I was a young person, very young person, during the Vietnam War when we were at war in Vietnam. And there was a lot of conflict and mixed messaging and media confusion or misrepresentation about Asian people because of the fact that we were at war in Vietnam and people didn't really know what to do with the representation that was floating around at that time. And so if you were an Asian person, you were Asian American person, kind of worried about how you would be construed as a member of the Asian community because there was as there still is today, a lot of a lack of understanding about, even at the time, to describe yourself as Asian American was not necessarily common. And people didn't understand that there was such a thing as an Asian American person. They assumed, as they still do in some places, that if you were here and an Asian person, that you were not American. So that this is all kind of floating around and reason for me to have a lot of questioning about myself as an Asian person at the time when I was growing up.
I bet, I bet. That's so insightful too. But I'm just so glad to see people like you be able to thrive in these type of spaces, especially in film. Like I remember when I first met you in person, it was just such a surreal experience. Because as an Asian woman myself, when I was a little kid, I was adopted. And so when I was also a little kid, my first adopted parents were very big in Disney. They had my room was covered in Disney princesses. And Mulan was something that was very special to me. So playing
Yeah.
that prince in Mulan, the warrior that she falls in love with, you were the captain. And hearing your voice and then being able to like later on see you in Jurassic Park, Law and Order, and like Mr. Robot, all these things. It really gives people hope like me, be like, wow, that's really cool. And other people I know in college who are very underrepresented and are trying to go into film.
Hmm.
So that gives people hope, you know?
It does, and I think over the years I've learned to appreciate it more and more. I used to think, well, I don't know, is that such a big deal? But it really is. You know, you hear people make speeches all the time and talk in their interviews about how at some point in their life something unlocked within them because they saw someone that quite simply looked like them. And a lot of people probably don't really get that. I mean, I think a lot of non-marginalized people don't necessarily understand it because they're used to being seen. They're used to having that connection. When we have that connection, even in your generation, that connection is meaningful. And so we really are looking to expand that representation to create more meaningful connections for younger people. It just makes sense that we should be aspiring to that, aside from the whole fact that it's simply fair to do that.
Mm. Exactly. Well said. Well said. And going into that and stuff, so what was it like, going from all of that to trying to just put yourself out there, get a couple roles, and really show that like the AAPI does have a spot in Hollywood and entertainment. What was it like winning a Tony for M. Butterfly, a role that challenged so many norms about race, gender, and identity?
Well, specifically, you mean what was it like for talking about M Butterfly itself and the that recognition? Is that the main part of the question?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it was up until that time that I had a lot of conflict about being Asian American. I didn't understand its value in my potential career. I was a very young person. I went into it knowing that the industry was flawed and um, non-inclusive, and I hoped against hope that change would occur while I was in it, or that maybe possibly I could be a part of the change. I didn't know how or what. I didn't have any particular plan about that. There was nothing particularly heroic about thinking that, but I did hope for that. And so years later, I was a little bit older. You know, I started when I was like 20, and by the time I was 27, um, this opportunity came along to do this play. And the main uh, feature of this play for me was the fact that on the first page of the script was an Asian American playwright's name. And this was the first Broadway show, I think, uh, written by an Asian American author. And so that representation right there was very meaningful to me. He, in fact, also wrote the juiciest and greatest and most incredible role for an Asian American actor. So he gave me an opportunity. This is David Henry Wong. He gave me an opportunity that I could not have had in any other kind of context or situation. So it was a singular um, artistic experience that led to great exposure and that was recognized for all the things that I'm describing to you. And so it was a bit of a milestone in that way. David Huang won the Tony Award that year for the being the playwright of the best play. It was called Best Play. And so there was doors that opened and attention that was spent on me and on the play at the time that was really useful to us, actually, I think, as a community. We had not been recognized in that way before. A story that was very Asian driven and written by an Asian playwright, as only a person with that experience can write about themselves and their own pain and their own everything. He put all of his heart into this play, and it created opportunities for us. And so that felt for me like a real shift in my understanding of what was possible and what my role as and I guess an agent of change or a person who wanted to promote dialogue could what the potential of that actually could be. Before that, it was a struggle to just be seen or to get an audition or to book a role and for that role to be um, sometimes challenging when it comes to stereotypes or whatever. All of that stuff kind of took a back seat to this experience, which was much more of a paradigm shift.
That's so powerful. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That's so powerful. And that's awesome. And just to tie that into like, being also a public figure as well, like, oh man, it's navigating from being like having a balanced life to like, public figures and stuff. Like, how do you view your responsibility as a public figure and an artist during especially AAPI Heritage Month?
Yeah, AAPHI, AANHPA, is that right? AANHPI, right?
Yeah, but you can
Yeah,
also call like AAPI. Yeah.
yeah. Um, it is really important to me. I mean, it comes and goes very quickly every year. You never cram as much into it as you want to. And I've over the years realized its value and taken it more and more seriously over the years. And as a person in the public eye, I guess, I feel a real sense of how would I describe it? I feel an enthusiasm about it. I feel like I'm proud and happy to be a part of a community that really needs or wants to be more seen and more understood, and so that I can, like I said before, foster or be a part of fostering a discussion, like we're doing right now. Actually, just being there to have a discussion. Somebody's listening to you right now. They're thinking about something they may not have thought before, or noticing something they may not have thought before. That, as you said, if it's just one person, you said to me before we started, if one person is all that you reach, it's worth it. And so
Agree.
I feel that way as a person in the public eye. That is why I came to Georgia with a campaign. That candidate, Kamala Harris, was very like really spoke to me. I really wanted to do my part in trying to support her and to support her candidacy. Um, and that comes from the privilege and the earned place of kind of working your way to a certain uh,
Mhm.
place in with regards to public recognition. And I think that's the reason to aspire to public recognition, actually, as opposed to other things that other people might aspire to. I think it's great to be able to have a voice, and for that voice to be hopefully fostering conversation.
That's so powerful. Oh man, I love it. You are so perfect. That's awesome. Like, oh, that is like hits so home for me. And I definitely think that other people, like, I also think about other people that I know who are in vulnerable situations, especially going on right now, And I
Yeah.
know there are a lot of people who can definitely resonate with what you just said,
I
So,
think we get a choice when we are born and through our lives. You're a younger person, I'm an older person, and throughout our lives, we are going to be faced with how much to do,
right.
whether or not it's for us or whether or not it's for someone else, to speak out, to share a conversation, to change somebody's mind, to say something. That's our choice. And everyone approaches the answer to this question differently and personally. And what we're here to do is to raise the notion that we could be one of those people that uses our voice, that
Yes.
we are living in what is supposed to be a democracy right now, and that the whole shtick of democracy, the whole spirit of it, is an individual's voice. Some people, many people, have forgotten this. And so, what we're here today, in some ways, to do is to say, hey, you know what? Anything that is not satisfying to you in the world
Mhm.
can be discussed by you. You don't need to take a back seat and wonder about what to do, what needs to be done about it. You can do something about it in your own small way. And it's up to you to choose the thing that's comfortable for you.
Right.
So I try to encourage as many people to do some version of this that suits them. I don't want people to do things that don't feel right to them, but I do want people to understand that their voice is important. even just right down to the notion that we should be voting, that we should vote. People should vote, and people should use their votes. It's a small thing that you can do, but becoming cynical about it and losing one's enthusiasm for voting is very sad to me.
It
And
is.
I want to kind of encourage people to reacquaint themselves with it, especially at this time.
I love that. Oh, you're amazing. You're such an inspiration. And I just, our entire AAPI caucus, we love you so much back at Georgia.
Oh
Just,
my gosh, thanks.
yes. And so, just in general, so many of the listeners that make up the demographic of who listens to this podcast, my
Yep,
podcast, are indeed ages from 18 to 24 years old. A
yep.
lot of them are young people that are Atlanta based. Some are in New York. Some are in California, surprisingly. It's like, what? But yes, many of them are young people. So, especially coming from that kind of demographic, what helped you find your voice as an actor and an advocate? And what kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, really briefly, the thing that may not be resonant to other people, but is my particular point of view, was that when I started studying acting, and I had a teacher who taught me that it was really important to think of myself as a messenger. And he said, what you should do is you should take any role, any play that you're doing. I came from the theater, and my background is in the theater. And so take a play and try to figure out what that author, that playwright is saying, and then make yourself the conduit between that playwright and the audience. And that is when you know how to make the right choices in how to play a particular character. And that kind of instilled in me this idea that um, you had that there was a message, that there even could be a message in any given acting challenge. And I think I kind of just took it to heart. In other words, I started to see it in a more global way, in a more kind of outside of the acting field. I started to go, well, we all have an opportunity to have a voice and to share a message, whatever it is, whatever the message of the day is for you. And that was my first um, starting point for that. My parents were not particularly activists, but they were people who spoke up. My mother spoke up when she didn't feel she was being treated fairly at work, when she didn't feel like she was being paid as much as her white male colleagues. And so she put herself on the line and kind of affected change in the 1970s to make change in her office environment. And so I was always taught by my parents that you shouldn't just take the back seat. You should at least try to kind of speak out whenever possible. They were not particularly militant, but they did somehow, that somehow stuck with me. And so that is the first thing. I mean, I think what I said before is really true. I think we all have within ourselves three or four or five, many different paths that we could take. And one path could be the path of being a leader of your community, like taking a real strong, taking that really to heart. And other paths in different degrees, the same thing. What degree do you want to participate in your own community and in the outcome of the way life unfolds before you? We do have a choice, and so I ended up getting enough positive reinforcement earlier on to be able to go, I like this. I like the way this feels, and it feels right to me. So I'm going to continue to do it. And I've continued to do it, and I've enjoyed it. I enjoy it more now than ever because it feels I guess I'm really used to it, and I'm really used to the positive feeling of being engaged, being engaged, like not just being passive and observing, but being engaged, crossing over the threshold of engagement and reaching out and touching other people or connecting in some way with issues or organizations. Charity work is really interesting to me when it's the right charity. And that comes from my making a specific choice to engage.
So powerful. Thank you so, so much. Wow, I totally agree with all of that. I'm definitely gonna, these are amazing quotes that I have in here too, so that's great. And so just looking ahead, what kind of change do you hope to see in media? And what role do you hope young people play in that movement?
Yeah, this is an interesting time in our industry because of COVID. A lot of people are needing to be coaxed back into the movie theaters and into the kind of cultural engagement of participating in the culture in a more active way, as opposed to just streaming everything or, people, the younger side of the people in your generation really don't see it this way. For the most part, as far as my perception of them. I don't want to speak too and make blanket statements, but I think I come from the tradition of going to the movies, and a lot of that kind of got lost in COVID. We really we got a little bit we lost our way a little bit when it comes, and the engagement of the culture also includes our understanding of us as consumers. And when we accept and acknowledge that our role as a consumer is a part of a role in a community as opposed to as an individual, then it makes us make more decisions that are based upon what the dollars we spend can do to affect change. And that includes how you affect representation in the box office. And if, for example, there was that movie that came out a few years ago, Crazy Rich Asians, and the movie Joyride, when Joyride came out, people, Asian American people, rented movie theaters, bought out movie theaters. They put their dollars forth on the opening weekend of these movies to make statements about what they wanted to see in the media. And those media choices paid off and were successful. And we are being heard more now because of it. It's
Right.
not all fixed or anything like that, but the fact is that Asian people have money to spend. They have statistically uh, the potential for creating change through spending their money. And my generation of people and the older people that are my parents' generation were not used to that. They do not think of their money as being something that has anything to do with their community.
Yeah.
It's almost hoarded. It's a very private thing,
Yeah.
one's own personal wealth. When you start thinking of it as, and you don't have to think of all of your money as that, but a portion of your money could be related to how you relate to your community. And I personally feel that being engaged in the community, and I use this word engagement a lot, I guess, today, because that phenomenon of engagement feels good to me. I have gotten used to it. I like it. I want to be engaged, and I want to encourage other people to be engaged. And I think if we are going to be in the mindset of complaining or expressing our dissatisfaction with representation that we have to also follow suit with making sure that we spend money on the content that we really appreciate. It's kind of part of the system. And I encourage people to understand that more and to take it to heart.
Thank you so much, BD. Wow, that was definitely a wrap. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so grateful to have been able to like interview you like this. Thank you
Oh,
so, so
wow.
much.
Well, I think that you're a bright light in the future, for the future, for people of my generation and for all of us, really. You explained to me before that there was a time when it was like, should we do this or shouldn't we do this? And you were like, absolutely, we should do this. And it is those people, the yes people, the people who want to do something rather than not do something, that I think are the people who are really going places, and the people that we should watch. And so that's how I feel about you.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Like, oh my goodness. I really appreciate it. Well, I really hope that everybody please follow BD Wong on Facebook, Instagram. YouTube, look him up, see the amazing work he has done and the wonderful movies and shows that he has been featured in and has been one of the main characters in as well. Thank you so much. And don't forget to follow and support Gen Z Speaks on Instagram and Ashleigh Ewald podcast on YouTube. And don't forget to also follow my main, Ashleigh Ewald Official on Instagram. Thank you everyone so much and happy AAPI month.